means a new season for USD Hoops. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Coyote Corner. The USD women finished 2015 strong, winning 9 of their last 10 non-conference games, a run which culminated with a December 22nd victory at Illinois. 9 days later, Amy Williams' team looked to avoid a holiday hangover as they tipped off the Summit League season against Denver. This was the first time in 3 seasons that USD got the chance to open league play at the Dakota Dome. Ty Miller sparked the offense early. The Watertown native drills back-to-back threes to get the Coyotes on the board. Miller would score 10 for the day. Denver dressed just 7 players on Friday, but they hung tough early thanks to Paige Bradley. The senior sharpshooter was feeling it from outside, hits the deep 3 there, and later, coming off the screen, pops it again. Pioneers down just 3 after 1. They're up 1 in the second when Kelly Stewart goes to work inside. 15, powers past Jordan Oak for 2, 26-25 Yotes. USD also got a solid contribution off the bench from Kate Liveringhouse. The sophomore showing some handles off the steal. Takes it all the way in for the bump and the bucket. Liveringhouse put up 9 of her 11 points in the first half. But Bradley did her best to keep the Coyotes close. Time winding down in the half. She lets it fly from half court, and it goes. Have another look. Bradley 5 for 5 from downtown in that first half, and that was one of them. USD, though, still up 3 at the break. Third quarter, Coyotes finally gained control once and for all. Caitlin Duffy back in the lineup after missing the previous 3 games with a foot injury, but she looks okay here. She finished with 5 points in 21 minutes. USD kept pouring it on. Stewart, right spot, right time. She gets the putback and the foul. She had 15, which is a season high for her. Nicole Seekamp was the only Yote to score more. She connects from the quarter for 3 of her 17. She also had 9 assists to help USD win for the 10th time in 11 games, 85-60. USD outscoring Denver 45-25 in the second half, largely due to some great team defense. They held the Pioneers, who shot nearly 60% in the first half, under 32% after the break, and they did an especially good job on Bradley, allowing her just 3 free throws over the final 20 minutes.
They were shooting well, but at the same time, we weren't executing our defense the way that we need to execute it, and then we stepped that up in the second half, and we really locked in, and we talked and played personnel and everything like that, so we saw an improvement there. But yeah, in the first half, it just showed us that if we don't execute defensively how we know we can and how we know we need to, then that's what's going to happen.
Especially like for our team, it's like sometimes when offense isn't going, then defense doesn't go, but I think we turned that around, and once our defense started working, our offense started to come from it. So that was a really big push for us.
So the Summit League season is off to a good start for the USD women, but Amy Williams says there's still plenty of room to grow. We'll get her take on the win over Denver and the week ahead when we come back.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back to Coyote Corner. Jay Elson down in Vermilion, now joined by head coach of the USD women, Amy Williams. And Amy, that holiday layover came to an end on New Year's Day for you. It had been 9 days between your non-conference finale at Illinois and Friday's Summit League opener against Denver. Did that long break concern you at all? I know that can be difficult midseason.
It's definitely a concern. It's nice to be able to give your team right about this time of year a little break, a good little break to be able to kind of go home and refresh themselves and get ready for conference play. But you're always nervous about a little bit of rust after that long of a break between games. Well,
with that in mind, I'm sure you enjoyed having the opportunity to open your conference season at home. The last 2 years, you started 3 straight games on the road, so that had to at least take a little bit of the pressure off.
It was really nice to be at home. I mean, we really enjoy being in the friendly confines of the Dome and Coyote crazy fans, and so to be able to open here in front of our fans is a great way to get things started.
Denver came into this game off a 37-point loss to South Dakota State a couple of days earlier, and the Pioneers extremely short-handed. They dressed just 7 players for the game on Friday, but One of them was Paige Bradley, and she managed to even things out pretty well in that first half. She can really shoot it.
She really can. I mean, she's a great player. We've known that. We've been able to kind of witness firsthand for the last few years. And we talked very specifically about she's the type of player where if she sees that first shot go in, she becomes way more difficult to guard. And she got kind of an easy look when we didn't guard the ball screen correctly, and she got into a rhythm, and it was really tough to get her out of that.
Denver as a team shot just under 60% with 7 3-pointers over the first 2 quarters, including Bradley's half-court heave at the horn. Now, things were much better for you defensively after that. Was that kind of a wake-up call, just that one play maybe?
Well, I think, we've talked about we didn't manage the clock and that situation very well down the stretch when we got an offensive rebound and kind of could have played for the last shot right there, and we forced up kind of a bad shot that they blocked, and the credit to them, they continued to play through the buzzer and got a half-court shot, great shot for her. So certainly we felt like we could have been going into the locker room with maybe a 5-point swing the other way, and that so that was disappointing, and maybe one more thing that caught our attention at halftime too.
Maybe Coach Williams caught their attention a little bit. Well, I mean, Denver after half, obviously things were much different. Denver shot 31%. They were 1 of 10 from 3. Bradley herself 0 of 3 from the field in the second half. What specifically did you do differently or just better on that end of the floor?
Well, I think our girls just did a great job of kind of locking up and making some of the corrections and changes, adjustments that we wanted to make there in the second half. We were able to be a little tighter on our switches, so when we switched off to a great shooter, we were kind of a little bit tighter and more pressure and making them put it on the floor and had better help defense. In
addition to the win, you also got a couple of players back that had missed some time before the break. Caitlin Duffy got the start. Jasmine Trimboli came off the bench. Were you encouraged by what you saw from them?
Yeah, I think, we're still trying to work them both back into, being where they were before they had to miss time and miss games. But certainly very glad to have both of those two back in uniform and out there competing for us. They both, at different times, made good defensive plays for our team. And I think just having them out there gives the rest of our team some confidence.
Stay at home, short-lived. Looking ahead to this week, 2 games on the schedule. At Oral Roberts on Wednesday before hosting Omaha on Saturday. The Golden Eagles coming off a big win for them at IUPUI over the weekend, while the Mavericks won their first 2 league games against NDSU and Western Illinois. Yeah,
I mean, 2 very hot teams right now, I think, and not only, Oral Roberts, a big road win at IUPUI, and they had, won a really tough non-conference game at Kansas, here recently, and so they're playing with a lot of confidence, and it'll be a tough place to go get a win.
All right, well, good luck to you this weekend, and keep things rolling in the Summit League.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thanks, Amy. Well, the Coyote men closed 2015 in thrilling fashion against Florida Gulf Coast. We'll recap that and the start of their Summit League season next.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
And welcome back. Well, the USD men encountered their most difficult 4-game swing of the season over the final 2 weeks of December. After starting with a quality double overtime win at Milwaukee, the Coyotes dropped consecutive lopsided decisions at Illinois and UNLV. From there, Craig Smith and company circled back to Sioux Falls in the Sanford Pentagon for their final Summit League tune-up against Florida Gulf Coast. The Coyotes took on Dunk City just 3 days after Christmas, but there was no sign of holiday rust, especially from Casey Kasperbauer. Despite Florida Gulf Coast boasting the best 3-point defense in the nation, the senior would hit 5 triples in the opening minutes of the first half to help put South Dakota in front early. Kasperbauer would rack up 19 points over the first 20 minutes, and that scoring burst, combined with great team defense, would lift the Yotes to a 13-point halftime lead. The Eagles would charge back in the second, though. FGCU's leading scorer, Mark-Eddie Norelia, gets it going with 12 of his 20 points coming in the second frame, and so would Christian Terrell. The sophomore pours in 20 points, gets 4 steals over the final 20 minutes to help the visitors go on a 20-5 run and take their first lead of the game, 53-52, with 8 minutes remaining. Coyotes hang tough, though. Trey Burnett would come up big with a series of buckets late, including The old-fashioned three-point play with 30 seconds left. That would send the game to overtime. In that extra frame, though, it was all about DJ Davis. The sophomore gets the bucket here to push the Coyote lead to 4 in the final minute. Then moments later comes up with the steal and the lay-in. He still wasn't done. Next Eagle possession, Davis adds the exclamation point. The steal and the slam. South Dakota goes home a winner 89-81. The Coyotes now 3-0 in overtime games this season. What a night for Kasperbauer, though. He scores a career-high 31 on 11 of 20 shooting. 7 of those buckets came from beyond the arc, which matches his career best. Burnett went for 16 and 10 to secure his third double-double of the season. Fast forward to New Year's Day now. Burnett and the Coyotes tipping off Summit League play against IUPUI. USD got off to a slow start offensively in this one. Everyone except Dan Jack, the freshman, provided a nice little spark off the bench. Nifty little lay-in there, and a few trips later, drops the baby hook. Jack scored 8 points in his first 3 minutes of action. USD needed all of that because the Jags were dealing on the other end. Daryl Combs with one of his 4 threes. He had a team-high 19 points. Inside, it was Evan Turner, the freshman, causing all kinds of problems. He goes up and over Austin Sparks. IUPUI would lead by as many as 13. Yotes go on a big run to close the half, though. In transition, Burnett hits Jack in stride. That capped the 5-for-5 first half for Jack. Burnett took it from there. He tallied 9 over the final 2:47 to help USD pull within 3 by the break. The charge continued into the second. Shai McClellan picks up where Burnett left off. Beautiful finish off the bounce. And a couple possessions later, DJ Davis finds him on the run. Coyotes rally to take the lead less than 2 minutes into the half. But it wouldn't last long. Matt O'Leary drills the triple to put the Jags back on top. He had 15, and Hall kept doing his thing as well. He went for 14 on 6 of 7 shooting. And IUPUI spoils the Summit League opener 77-66. The Jags shot 50% for the game compared to 40% for USD, but the Coyotes really struggled from outside. One of the top 3-point shooting teams in the Summit League hit just 2 of 15 from beyond the arc.
They came out to play. I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit. They played hard, and they were definitely more physical and tougher than us today, and the tougher team won.
We were really slow out of the gate again, and just did not have a competitive spirit. And nothing in life is given. Everything is earned, and nobody's entitled to anything. And it felt like tonight we played with a sense of entitlement, which is, that's not how you compete, and that's not how you win basketball games.
Now, Craig Smith hinted after that loss to IUPUI that lineup changes were possible, and he apparently wasn't kidding. Coyotes starting 5 looked a touch different for Sunday's game at Oral Roberts. Tyler Hagedorn and Trey Norris moved into the starting 5, leaving Shai McClellan and DJ Davis to come off the bench. And it worked out okay. McClellan and Davis combined for 33 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds to help USD get the win 94-84. Burnett paced the offense for the 3rd straight game. He finished with 22 points, while Casey Kasperbauer chipped in 20. The Coyotes scored 36 points off 22 Oral Roberts turnovers. They also hit 14 of 16 free throws, which is an area they've really struggled in this season. So, improvement all over the floor, and needless to say, the head coach was pretty pleased with the way his team bounced back.
On a quick turnaround like that, sometimes you can let one loss equal 2 losses, but everyone wants to win. We all want to win. But it's about our preparation and, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And our practices leading up to IUPUI were not so good. Our 1 day of prep or 1.5 day of prep was fantastic for Oral Roberts, and I think the results showed.
The Coyotes will enjoy this one for the time being, but it's back to work on Wednesday in Fort Wayne. They'll then return home Saturday to play their 5th game in 13 days against Omaha. That is a doubleheader with the Mavericks, and we'll have both of those games for you here on Midco Sports Network. The women tip off at 1:30 with the men to follow at 4. Well, we now know who will be helping Bob Nielsen lead the South Dakota football program next season. We'll break down the Coyotes' new coaching staff after this.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
When Bob Nielsen was named South Dakota's 30th head football coach last month, he said one of his top priorities was putting together a coaching staff. Well, that staff is now in place. 7 of the Coyotes' new coaches were on Nielsen's staff at Western Illinois last season, and he says that continuity is critical.
Having guys that understand what my expectations are as a head coach and guys that I've worked with is going to give us a jump start on moving forward with the good foundation that we have here.
Now, Nielsen did retain 3 members of USD's 2015 staff. Matthew Middleton will continue in his role as wide receivers coach, which he has held since 2013. Colin Prosser, who earned his master's degree at USD, will coach tight ends and assist with the offensive line for a second straight season. And Luke Groth will begin his 4th year as the program's director of football operations.
We try to fit members of the current staff in with people that you're going to bring in and make sure that you've got the right chemistry and continuity, and I think we were able to do that. Certainly having some guys that have been a part of the staff here are going to assist with the continuity, both in terms of recruiting and also knowledge of our current players.
With a little less than a month before National Signing Day, the coaches will be hitting the recruiting trail hard over the next few weeks, and Nielsen says all of them know exactly what they're looking for.
I've said from day one as a head coach, you want to recruit good people that are committed students, that are talented student athletes. That's what we're looking for. We certainly have some priorities within some of the positions to build depth and to increase our talent level. At the same time, I think we've got some position groups here that we're where we need to be, and so our recruiting will try to balance that roster. At the same time, the focus will be on building the depth that we need to compete for a Missouri Valley Conference championship.
The hiring of Bob Nielsen was one of several key moments for USD athletics in 2015. We'll wrap things up with a look back at the best of the best after this.
Coyote Corner on Midcoast Sports Network is presented by Dakota Land Honda.
We may have already rung in the new year, but before we completely close the book on 2015, let's look back at some of the best moments in University of South Dakota athletics from the past 12 months. For the details, here's Alex Heiner.
Let's start in late February as the Coyote women's basketball team captured their first regular season Summit League title with a home sweep over IUPUI in Western Illinois. The Yotes finished the Summit regular season with a 13-3 conference record, 1 game ahead of 12-4 South Dakota State. Nicole Seekamp and Rachel Contreras earned first-team all-conference honors, while Amy Williams was named the Summit's Coach of the Year. A month later, USD hurdler Tyvaski Lewin made history by finishing 8th at the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships in Fayetteville, Arkansas, becoming the first USD male athlete to earn first-team All-American status in the Division I era. Lewin had been named the Summit League's indoor track MVP and had helped the Yotes win their 3rd straight indoor conference title 2 weeks before. As the school year ended in May, the Yotes earned another first by winning the South Dakota Corn Showdown Series over SDSU for the first time in the competition's 3-year history. The 14-13 win stemmed from Coyote victories over state on the court, the field, and the track, along with excellence in the classroom. Fast forward to October and the Fargo Dome, where USD pulled off the upset of the year at the FCS level, defeating the 4-time defending national champion Bison 24-21 on a 33-yard field goal from Miles Bergner with no time remaining. The win snapped NDSU's 26-game home winning streak and doubled as the Coyotes' first win in Fargo since 1978. 2 weeks later on Halloween Day in Brookings, the Coyote women's cross-country team would take the headlines as they would earn their 2nd straight Summit League Conference title by placing 5 runners in the top 13. Led by meet runner-up Amber Eichhorn and fellow All-Conference seniors Kelsey Barrett and Katie Wetstein, USD would take the title with 38 points, 8 more than 2nd place South Dakota State. The month of November was all about Joe Glenn. The legendary head football coach earned his 200th career win with a come-from-behind effort against Southern Illinois to keep USD in the playoff conversation. When the season ended 2 weeks later, Joe Glenn would call it a career, retiring after 28 seasons as a head coach at the age of 66.
We plan to grow older, here in beautiful Vermilion, South Dakota, and we won't miss a game. Go Yotes. Thank you.
On December 5th, the USD men's hoops team pulled off a road stunner of their own by defeating Minnesota in double overtime for the program's first win against a Power 5 school in the D1 era. The 85-81 Coyote victory snapped a 47-game home winning streak for the Gophers against non-conference opposition, the second longest in the country. 10 days later, the wait for the next man to lead USD football was ended, as on December 15th, former Western Illinois and Minnesota Duluth coach Bob Nielsen was appointed as the 30th head coach in the football program's history. In 3 seasons at Western, Nielsen had taken the Leather Necks from a team at the bottom of the conference to an FCS playoff victory this past season, a big reason he was named the 2015 Missouri Valley Coach of the Year. Well, it's been a great year in Coyote athletics, and there's much to suggest that 2016 could be even better. A few things to look forward to include USD hosting the Summit League Outdoor Track and Field Championships this May, as well as the opening of the Sports Performance Enhancement Complex for playing next fall and winter for volleyball and basketball, Jay.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we are all looking forward to that. Thanks, Alex. All right, that's our time for this week. For Alex Heinert, I am Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next week for another episode of Coyote Corner.